The Everything Apartments podcast is provided with support from the Apartment Association of Greater Los Angeles, better known as AGLA, serving residential landlords throughout Southern California through education and advocacy. Visit aagla.org. Well, hello, everybody. This is Eric Christopher here, and you're listening to the Everything Apartments podcast. On the podcast, we dig into all aspects of multifamily investments, from buying and financing properties, day-to-day operations and management, and also reinvestment strategies. As we know, property management is a huge component of owning a multifamily property. And from time to time, we like to do kind of a best practices series. Today, we'll get into that. Way back on episodes 10 and 11 of this show, we did a couple episodes on renting apartment units faster and more efficiently. And today, we'll get into how we've improved that process over the last few years. But first, I'll tell you about our firm, WSC Realty Advisors and WSC Property Management. WSC has been helping buyers and sellers and managing apartment properties in Long Beach for just under 19 years now. Let's say you're tired of managing your own units. You want to travel, relax on vacation without worrying about a plumbing leak or something like that. Or maybe you have a manager that you're just not quite getting the response or the results that you're looking for. It could be the length of vacancy or lingering repair issues or kind of flimsy reporting. We can definitely help you with all that. WSC isn't here to be the biggest management firm in Long Beach. Instead, we stay smaller and more agile to bring you the quality and service you want. For example, we get our owner reports out to you by the 10th of the month. If we don't do that, and we've never failed to do that, your next month of management will be absolutely free. We can also help you if you're looking to acquire more units. We keep a real good pulse on the market here or out of state, maybe a 1031 exchange. Visit WSC-PM.com. Call, text, or email us. That information is all in the show notes. Or if you're watching on YouTube, it's obviously right above my shoulder here. So whatever the challenge is with your property, WSC has the solution. Since we all experience vacancy from time to time, today we'll look at the nuts and bolts of how we've improved the leasing process over the last few years. If you're struggling to fill your units, you may really appreciate this information. So let's say you have a vacancy, it's all ready to rent. Let's talk a little bit about sources of tenant leads. Now, we found a combination of online advertising and signage gets the job done. There's no surprise there, but this discussion is going to go a little further and focus more on managing the leads you get, getting the most out of them that you can. I want you to picture a conveyor belt that starts with, really any tenant lead you get from really any source, and finishing with the prospect visiting your unit. So the two ends of those spectrums, we're going to join together in an efficient system that we found it works. But let's take a step back first and look at sources of leads. Now, for online advertising, it's no secret, Zillow is a pretty good source. They also duplicate the listings you upload to Trulia and HotPads, and also Facebook Marketplace is also pretty effective. I found some of the other ones like apartments.com, and there's a few others out there, and I've just really never seen much results coming out of those. So the two I just mentioned, Zillow and Facebook Marketplace, seem to drive a pretty good share of leads coming our way. So for the online ad, we like to have a lot of pictures, probably more than average. I like to usually have about 8 or 10 of them up there within the unit, outside the unit. If the property is located, for example, near the ocean, I've got one property about a block away from the ocean. Well, heck, the first 2 pictures in that ad are going to be looking up and down the beach. So you can kind of do a similar thing if you've got some local attractions around the property you're trying to advertise. Taking the pictures with real good proper lighting in the unit at the right time of day. You can kind of experiment with that at different times of the day and say, oh, okay, maybe the best time to take this building picture is 11 a.m., for example. And then after the married of pictures, and we like to really photojournal the entire unit, every vantage you could almost have. It's almost like you can't have too many pictures. And then we write a detailed description. We see a lot of ads that just basically give 3 bullet points on the property, and you're just kind of left to go from there. We like to put together a real nice written description, obviously highlighting the pluses of the property, what would feel like to call that home. Now, I know Zillow, for example, has an AI feature for writing the description, and I've kind of messed around with it a little bit, but for me, the finished product that comes out of that, it just sounds a little too Well, AI-ish or machine-like. So I really just like to put the description in my own words. And then there's the old standard building signage. Hey, there's nothing wrong with signage. It's very inexpensive to do, but it seriously it really cracks me up when I drive around town and I see these for rent signs that have nothing but a sloppy phone number written on it in a black Sharpie pen. And heck, I regularly see signs that the phone number is so faded on them you can't even read it. I'm kind of guessing they don't get too many leads from those kind of signs, right? So if you're going to put up a sign, why not take, say, 15 minutes to make sure it does something for you? So here's an example of a sign we use. Basically, I cut out different positive aspects of the building. I've got a whole file full of them. And I want to have a couple things to wet their whistle when they see the front of the property. But the more important thing is over to the right. What I do when I put a Zillow ad up is I get a QR code from that Zillow ad. You can see that to the right. That will open the Zillow ad to any interested traffic that's passing by. So basically, instead of a phone call, hey, is the unit available, telling me about it, they can simply shine their camera on that QR code. It'll pop right open. And then if they're interested, they can put an inquiry in through the Zillow app. And this is something of a screening method in and of itself, right? Something of computer literacy. When we get involved with a tenant, we're collecting rent electronically. So at least, we have a fluency of some level just by them being able to locate the ad. Now, with the Facebook Marketplace ad, that's usually starting with an inquiry coming through Facebook Messenger. But as you'll see in a minute, those leads collect in the final resting place. We'll show you that in a minute. For other leads we receive, let's say a phone call or a regular text, um, we all have Zillow apps on our phone. I highly recommend that. And what you do is after you post a Zillow ad, go into the mobile app and favorite that ad so that if somebody calls you or somebody texts you, you can say, hey, great, yeah, it's available. Check the ad out, right? So you pop in the Zillow ad to their phone, and then if they're interested, then they go ahead and inquire for a showing at that level. So basically, the conveyor belt is trying to lead almost everyone to the Zillow ad. The Facebook ones more or less stand on their own. But what we'll show you in a minute, after we describe, it's our job basically to monitor Zillow and Facebook inquiries, a couple, 2, 3 times a day. And speed of response is very important. We found the gestation of a leasing lead is good for about 2 to 3 days max. These people are looking all over town for a place to live. If you don't get back to them the same day or maybe the next day, they're probably gone. So we try to respond to all the inquiries in the same day we get them. And we're obviously trying to see, if they're qualified, but to book a showing. So with our response, we always attach our rental criteria with the initial response. And that's a very important aspect. If you're not doing that, I'd highly recommend you start, meaning the first time somebody asks you about your unit, you figure out a way to send your rental criteria to them. And I can help you with that. If you don't have one, I've got a very good one. But the second or more, maybe more important part is we're requesting their phone number, email, and that is also another checkpoint. Will they respond with the information we request in order to set up a showing? So obviously, this is nothing new to a lot of us. There's your Zillow message box. I mean, it's really as simple as somebody's going to say, I want to schedule a tour. Okay, great. Thank you for writing. We'd love to show you the unit. A lot of times I'll put in there, would you like to see it today or tomorrow, depending on what they're mentioning to us. And please send back your contact information. Very, very simple. Now, one thing I want to point out is, and this is probably nothing new to everybody out there, but no matter where the lead comes from, whether it's Zillow or Facebook Marketplace, there's a high flake factor. We find 50% of the inquiries never respond once they first inquire with us. We write them back with what we just showed you. This is pretty much normal for the course. What we'll do is we'll make one more Zillow reach out the next day or two after the first inquiry and say, hey, are you still looking for a unit? If they don't respond in a day or two after that, we basically archive the Zillow lead, which means it's not deleted, but it's going to go out of our inbox so we don't get it all clogged up. But if they end up writing back, we will get the message. And that's real easy to do. As you can see, the little red circle, that's the archive. Say just go to a message that they're not seeming to respond to. Just hit that archive message, then it'll go away. It's real easy if you got a couple, 2 or 3 units you're trying to lease, that box can get full of just kind of old, meaningless junk. And if you archive them, it'll keep it nice and clean. Now, for those that do respond with information, we create a guest card in Appfolio. Now, what's a guest card? Hey, a guest card is nothing more than a form in the leasing module of Appfolio that records the person's name, phone, email, and the unit of interest. The guest card is kind of where we're trying to drive everybody from wherever we get them, because it's going to lead to a showing. So basically, the guest card is the first building block on that conveyor belt toward creating a lease. So as I mentioned, it's a really simple form. Right now, you're looking for basic contact information. You can note the source. Most of this stuff is Zillow, Facebook Marketplace. I do get some pretty good student leasing from Long Beach State at the right time of year. And then you can also assign it to either yourself or a member of your firm that you want to do the showing, and then obviously the unit that we're talking about. So let's say that you've got the prospect's information, you're creating a guest card. What I'm doing still in the original source, whether it be Zillow or Facebook Marketplace, is I'm narrowing down the day and time that we want to meet. So it doesn't really do me that much good to have a guest card without a time, because I'm going to show you why in a second. But back in the original place where I found them, or they found us, I write them back, hey, how about tomorrow at 10 o'clock or the next day at 3 o'clock? And when they agree to one of those, I get to schedule the showing inside of the guest card. And there's some huge benefit to doing that, which I'll show you here. I'm just going to do a quick guest card on myself because I want to show you the functionality of this thing. Basically, some of the biggest problems we have with showing units is no-shows. Okay, not, maybe the qualification is an issue too, but the no-show thing is one that we, really don't like to waste our time with, and we all have, right? So I'm going to put a quick test guest card in here. Once I save it, okay, I'll make sure that's just Eric Test. Okay, and this will just be real quick. I don't want to kill you with the minutia here. But once I have that guest card in, I can scroll down to showing, schedule showing. Boom. Okay, what unit is it? Okay, let's just kick one in there. Duration, we always kind of put it at 15 minutes. Let's say it's going to be today at, whatever time you want, 2 o'clock. I'm going to assign it to myself. Now, the cool part is notifications. So the prospect's going to get an email. I didn't put my phone number in there, but if I did, they would also get a text and then request confirmation by. So once you save that, what's going to happen is the prospect's going to get an email and a text saying, hey, we've set you up for a showing at this day and this time. Now, let me take a quick step back. Is after I get the contact information and I've got an appointment to show a unit in place, then I also archive the lead out of Zillow to keep that box clean. If it was a Facebook lead, I basically archive that. I don't want my boxes to get so filled up that I can't keep track of what's going on. So we scheduled the showing. The email and text have gone out to the prospect. Obviously, the hugest time suck we have when we're showing units is, like I said, we get in the car, drive across town, or maybe further. You know how frustrating that is. You can assign the showing to another member of your firm. They have the same functionality. What I do, and I recommend that my staff do, is also send a regular text sort of before you get in the car. They get one 2 hours ahead saying, hey, you've got to confirm this appointment within the next hour. If I don't get that, I certainly will text them direct and say, hey, are you going to make the showing? Are you on your way? Et cetera, et cetera. And if you do that, I think that little bit of effort is worth every minute that you're going to sit in your car driving over to somewhere where no one's going to show up. And when we do that properly, we have a 99% success rate on the appointment. So let's say the showing goes off. You confirm with the prospect that they got your rental criteria. And if they didn't happen to see that or read that, we want to make sure that they understand the underwriting criteria, because obviously the second worst thing to driving across town to a no-show is having a meeting with somebody that seems good and then their credit score is screwed up, or there's something that's not going to meet the criteria. But let's say they see the unit, they like it. Hey, we can send them an application link right from our app on the phone, or right when we get back to the office. If they're kind of middle ground or whatever, a couple days after the showing, the system sends an automated email out to the prospect. So the day after someone visits, they get a little email kind of reminding them, hey, thanks. They're probably looking at more than one unit and might, have you had interest, but their head's kind of spinning from looking at 6 or 7 or 8 different units in the last couple of days. And this kind of maybe jar their mind a little bit to gauge to see if they're interested. Now, for us third-party managers, having this kind of data in Appfolio that will show, okay, from the leads we got from Zillow or Facebook or wherever they are, this many converted into a guest card, meaning they responded with their contact information. That shows the first step of the conveyor belt, right? And then what happened to those conversion to guest cards? We either had a showing or we didn't. What I show you here is, hey, here's the showings we had. Some of them we were asked to send an application link. They didn't send it back. Others, there was no response. Somebody found another location. But it's just good to every couple weeks, if something doesn't go quickly, it's good to stay in touch with your owners and say, hey, look, here's where we're at. Maybe the price is a little too high, or maybe it's just a seasonal thing. But it's good to keep in touch with your owner and show them, hey, look, we're getting traffic and here's what's happening to it. So like most modules of property management, or like really any kind of business, it's best to have as good of a system as you can put in place. This one's been working pretty well. We're not immune to seasonal slowdowns, and right now the rents have kind of flattened out a little. There isn't like a huge uptrend on rents, but at the same time, what we do with the traffic that we get in a systematic fashion does yield the results. And if you're having any trouble with this, we can definitely help you. Now, in our next episode of sort of the management best practices, we'll cover the best way to hold an open house. And it's an interesting way to go on vacancies. Please be sure to subscribe to the podcast or the YouTube channel, and we will talk with you next time. It's been the Everything Apartments podcast. I'm your host, Eric Christopher. Thank you for joining us.